With an area of over 17 million square kilometers, Russia is by far the largest country in the world. It is approximately 47 times the size of Germany and covers around 1/9 of the land mass of the entire Earth. The area used to be even larger. But how was Russia, whose center is located on the European continent with Moscow and St. Petersburg, able to spread to the Pacific coast? The first predecessor state, which extends over the territory of Russia, Ukraine and Belarus and is regarded by all three countries as the founding state, was Kievan Rus, a large East Slavic empire that was formed around the year 980 and finally adopted Christianity as its state religion 8 years later. However, this empire fell victim to the Mongol invasion in the year 1240. The Mongol invasion accelerated the already looming collapse of the Empire of Kiev and it thus disintegrated into several successor states, all of which were under the control of the Mongols or the so-called Golden Horde. These principalities fought for supremacy for a long time. The Principality of Moscow eventually emerged victorious from these battles, as its leader Ivan the Great succeeded in ending Mongol rule and uniting all Russian states under one banner. From as early as the year 1500 under his grandson Ivan IV, also known as Ivan the Terrible, the so-called Cossacks, consisting of cavalry units, set out to extend the Russian borders beyond the Ural Mountains and conquer Siberia and the Far East. The conquest of these territories made it the largest country in the world. The Asian part still makes up 77% of Russia's territory today. The Russians did not encounter much resistance as they expanded eastwards, which is why ever larger territories fell to Russia. As early as the year 1645, the Russians reached the Pacific coast and were able to take possession of the territories in between. One reason for the quick and easy conquest was the low population density of the eastern territories. Even today, the population density is only 2 inhabitants per square kilometer. Back then it was significantly less. On the other hand, most of the Siberian tribes accepted Russian rule voluntarily, as they were given extensive internal autonomy and were allowed to maintain their traditions. Russia guaranteed security in exchange for tributes and taxes. This agreement meant that the conquest was largely peaceful. Towards the west and south, however, the expansion was much slower. The reason for this was that the Russian Empire encountered far stronger and more influential opponents there, such as Poland, Lithuania, and the Ottoman Empire. Wars and battles against these countries and their successor states took place repeatedly over the last 400 years. With the reforms named after him, Tsar Peter I modernized the Russian Empire, which had been imperial since the year 1721, and brought it closer to Western Europe, enabling the empire to consolidate and further expand its great power status. After the victory over the Grande Armée in Napoleon's Russian campaign in 1812, the Russian Empire further consolidated its status as a great power on the European mainland. Eventually, the Russian Empire reached a fabulous size of 21.8 million square kilometers, even larger than today's Russia. However, it became an increasingly difficult task to govern this vast country. As early as the year 1865, a Russian official warned that Russia was becoming too big to understand what was happening on its borders. That was also one reason why Russia sold Alaska to the United States in the year 1867. Even though a few hundred Russians lived there, it was simply too far from the center and had no strategic importance for Russia at the time. The Americans got quite a bargain, as the territory, which would fit Germany 4 times over, cost only $7 million, which is about $120 million by today's standards. The February and October revolutions in the year 1917 during the First World War ended the Tsar's rule over Russia and subsequently founded the Socialist Soviet Union, which existed until 1991. The Soviet Union was even larger than the Russian Empire. Its total area was 22.4 million square kilometers. With the breakup of the USSR into 15 different states, today's Russia was formed. Despite its huge territory, Russia is now only in 9th place worldwide in terms of population, with 146 million inhabitants. Countries such as Bangladesh and Pakistan, for example, whose area is significantly smaller, are far ahead of Russia. The reason for this is that large parts of the Far East and Siberia, especially in the north, are virtually uninhabitable due to the harsh climate and permafrost soils. Around 77% of Russia's population, i.e. 110 million inhabitants, now live west of the Urals, particularly in the 2 largest metropolitan areas of Moscow and St. Petersburg.